What is up, everyone? I'm Dimitri Loiseau.
And I'm Valerie Noble. We are the proud creators of the Regard Breakdown, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes with Hollywood's top talent as we discuss the roadmap for success in the entertainment industry.
Each week, we bring you new episodes featuring the actors and industry insiders who work behind the scenes. These are the ones who create the persona, the look, and the brand from all your favorite TV shows and films. We are so happy that you tuned in because their stories are authentic, informative, and inspiring. Well, before we get started with our show today, really want to find out what's going on out there with the folks, what kind of questions they've got coming up. So, Sydney, what's going on in the gram?
Good morning, you guys. We had a few really exciting topics thrown our way, and actually the good listeners of Instagram and Twitter agreed to combine their question into one all-encompassing topic. So, our topic is balance. Because a lot of our listeners have several different projects going on at the same time. They're all pursuing careers in multiple veins of the industry all at once. So, for example, some of them, have careers on stage versus television versus film. Some of them are writing and producing at the same time. So most of them want to know how they can make sure that they stay focused and stay driven in every aspect of their careers without burning out. So how can we stay motivated? I know that both you, Dimitri, and Miss Val, you guys both have so many different projects going, and it's really impressive that you keep it all aligned and still seem really zen and put together. So you guys know the game. It's my favorite part. On the clock, 60 seconds each, 60-second mark. I'm going to cut you off and go to the next co-host, okay? So last time we started with you, Dimitri, I think it's only fair to say ladies first this week. Miss Val, quick reminder of the question. How can our listeners make sure that they are still driven and still focused without burning out in all the projects that they have going? So you are on the clock in 3, 2, and 1.
Okay, Sydney, this is a hard question. How to remain, with your fingers in all your pies and how to remain dedicated without burnout. I think one of the biggest things that most of the people that I know like to do in order to stave off burnout is exercise, either Pilates or running or, hiking or getting some physical movement. I think helps a lot of people kind of, keeps your energy up and keeps you focused. Not that I'm doing it lately, but, I think that's a good option. I remember when I was in college and it was really kind of stressful because, it was kind of scary time. I used to go bowling. I was in a bowling league. So I think anytime you can get together and do some sort of physical movement, exercise, I think that really can help stave off any sort of, I'm rambling. So
time. That was great though. That was so good. I didn't know that you were in a bowling league.
Yes, back in the day. I loved it too. It was great.
I'm shocked. Now I feel like I got to go start bowling or something. Maybe that's my new yoga.
I do too, really. I need to start again.
Yeah, actually, I'm shocked because I've known Val all this time and I had no idea she was in the bowling league. But
oh, well, now I feel better.
That's a topic for another day.
That'll be a new segment on the show.
Okay, all right. Bowling with Val, yes.
Yeah, really. All right, Dimitri, same question. Quick reminder for you. How can our listeners pursue, make sure that they're still pursuing all the different avenues that they're interested in without burning out? Do you have any tips, tricks, or secret methods that you use yourself? Because you're constantly jet setting. If you guys follow him on Instagram, it's real intense. Okay, 3, 2, 1. You are on the clock.
It's a really good question. I don't think it's that, tough of a question or answer. I think it really, I think for balance, I think you got to surround yourself with people that can keep you balanced. I think it's really important that you have friends that are like outside of this business that can kind of keep you grounded because that eventually will rub off on you. And I think obviously, like, you know, keeping healthy, you know, a nice diet, exercise is all great, but I think that it's a birds of a feather scenario. And I think that if you really surround yourself with people who are going to kind of keep it real with you, so to speak, then I think that you start to kind of, you know, you start to do the same things that they do, you know? So I think it's important that that happens. And then just try to keep it chill. You know, like me, I'm a workaholic, so it's hard to step away, but I think it's really important that you do that. So like Val said, because I'll piggyback off of what she said, you know, whether it's hiking, okay.
Ah,
Hey.
you got me with your answer. It was so good.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much. I'm really excited because I feel like today's guest is going to have some pretty neat insight on that as well. So
Absolutely. Well, you know, our guest today, before I bring her on, I mean, I think she's definitely got the answer to this question, because with everything that she has going on, the ability for her to be able to stay balanced and still stay at the top of her game is truly impressive. So before we bring her on, let me give you guys a little background history. Our next guest burst onto the entertainment scene in 1996, and since then has given us so many amazing performances, both on television and also in films. You probably have seen her on Beverly Hills 90210, ER, The Twilight Zone, Friends, NCIS Los Angeles, Criminal Minds. On the film side, you've seen her in Scream 2, Homeland Security, Big Mama's House, and she also has a new upcoming film called Spiral from the book of Saw. Now, she's probably most notably known as Nadia Yassir on the hit television show 24, and also as Hermione Lodge on CW's Riverdale. She's a dedicated performer, a mother, and a human rights activist, and we can't wait to dive in and hear all about her story. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marisol Nichols.
Marisol.
Yay!
Yay.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Marisol, we were just talking about maintaining balance, you know, in this business, and you know, what's your take on that?
On maintaining balance, you know, it's funny because as you were saying, I kind of wear several hats. I think most people do, right? And for me, one of the things is trying to wear the hat that I'm wearing at the time that I'm wearing it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not, I think that I get burnt out or whatever when I'm having to, okay, I need to be on set, I need to memorize the lines, I need to organize the show, and my kid needs me all at the same time. That's when it's like, everything gets kind of stretched to the limit. I think organizing ahead of time so that those things don't happen help a lot. Like I find if I make a battle plan for the day, that helps me a ton, as I can check off things and then I feel good as I get certain things done. And it just kind of helps me organize that day or even sometimes that week, depending on what's going on. And then it's funny because I loved both of your answers and I take kind of things from both. I find if I'm really dying or something, I go outside and I go for a walk and I get space, just space, or a drive, but just get out. And then I also will take a look at who's around me in a big way. Who's around me that's draining me? Who's putting constant problems like that can't be solved all on my plate? I'm a big believer in looking at who's around you and are they making your life better or are they making your life worse and harder? So I'm a big believer in that. And then I would say finally for me, I was thinking about this when you guys were talking about it. For me, if I remind myself or rehabilitate somehow the purpose in why I'm doing what I'm doing, I find I can create more energy. In other words, if I'm doing this stuff for my nonprofit, obviously I know the purpose. I'm like, okay, well, I'm working on this because people are going to learn about what's happening. A kid is going to be saved. Someone's going to call in a tip and something's going to happen. And that's why I'm doing this. Or if it's something, you know, as far as acting, hey, I'm doing this because I love this story. I love playing this character. I will read the fans' comments of like, oh my God, we love you, and this and that and the other. I'm like, okay, this is why we're doing this. And then obviously, you know, every time I put my kid to bed every night, I know exactly why I'm doing this. So I think for me, that helps a lot, is just reminding myself on the purpose and why I'm doing what I'm doing.
See, I just knew that you were going to have an amazing answer. Like, you know, we just, you know, Val and I are just trying to do what we can to fill in. But no, that's, you have such great points. And those are definitely words of wisdom. You know, before you got to this point, though, of being well balanced, let's talk about, you know, how it all started. Why you're from Chicago.
Yep.
When did your love for acting start? Like, when did you know for sure, like, this was what you wanted to do?
You know, it's kind of funny. It was a fluke. I fell into it. I was one of those kids that had absolutely zero direction, made a lot of mistakes, did a lot of drugs, ran away, pretty much almost flunked out of high school, not because I was dumb, but just because I didn't go. I was too busy getting into trouble and doing all these things. And about when I was 18, 19 years old, I looked around and I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. This is not the direction that I want to go. So I had enrolled in a junior college because I couldn't get into a four-year college. And I enrolled in a junior college, and I had broken up with a boyfriend that I had been with about 3-4 years, and kind of lost all my friends, not in a horrible way, but they were sort of his friends that I had gotten through him. And when that relationship split, you know, those are kind of the fallouts of those things. And so as a fluke, I auditioned for a play. I was like, well, I can be an extra. I got nothing else going on. And I got the lead role. And I was like, what? So all of a sudden I could be dramatic and people liked it. And then I joined the speech and theater team right after that play. And it was a really, really good team that would compete around the country with different other colleges doing theater pieces. And so I joined their team, and then in 3 months I won the national championship. Wow. That was when I was like, well, I really like it. It's really fun. It's like playing for me. And it was something that I was good at. And I was like, well, this is the only thing I could see myself doing and being happy with, you know, long term. So that's sort of how it came about. Yeah.
Wow. You know, in the beginning, you had mentioned about, you know, surrounding yourself with good people. Do you think that, you know, early on with the, you know, with the drug usage and things like that, that was a big factor in?
It's funny. It's really interesting, but when it's sort of like one door closes and another one opens kind of thing. And so with the drugs and all that, that just kept me, you know, I was surrounded by a lot of people who definitely did not have my best interests in mind. They wanted a partner in crime to go do this and do that, and to make it seem okay if someone else is doing it with them, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So by default, losing that whole crowd and stuff like that, it opened up the door to new things. And I still, to this day, by the way, I'm like, I have no problem, you know, looking around me and going, who really has my back and who really does not? And I'm fine with having the I Hate Marisol Club, like totally have the I Hate Marisol Club, get buttons that say I hate Marisol, no problem. Just do it from way over there because I don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those people that, you know, oh, honey, well, I'm sure that, you know, you would have gotten that role if you were just a little younger. Like little digs that you go, why do I feel like crap around this person, even though they're supposedly my best friend? You know, I'm pretty hardcore like that. And the opposite is true. My friends know that I love them to death. Yeah. And I, you know, I have a lot of love and a lot of enthusiasm for things that my friends want to do. And it's got to be a two-way street. It just has to be.
Do you feel that you kind of put a barrier between friends in the business versus friends in life?
I think it depends on the person. I don't think it really matters if they're in the business or not. I have friends in life that are in the business. But I definitely have a different set of values and a different set of things that I will share about myself with my friends for life, rather than the friends in the business. You know, it's something that you kind of have to earn and make sure that, oh, this is a good place and this is a good person and da 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 da. I've kind of learned over the years. So I definitely have a different set of, I would say, values and stuff that I share with obviously my closest friends. They're like my family.
Yeah.
Family.
I mean, it seems like you, I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, just based on what you've gone through, I mean, you're a pretty fortunate person to not be a statistic, you know what I mean? Especially at
yeah.
young age and everything that, you know, that transpired. Like,
Yeah.
where did you draw that from? Like, where did you get just the pure guts to just be like, I'm done with drugs? And then later on in life, like, you know, I'm done surrounding myself with people that are negative or bring me down. Like, where do you draw that from?
Yeah, so the drugs thing was, I really, I'm not kidding. Like, I looked around. Friends of mine were going to prison. I had one friend that went to prison for 20 years. He was like, literally, we would go into the city and cut the blocks and weigh them and put them in little baggies. And then, like, he was that guy. And I'd known him forever. And I had another friend that went to prison for something else. Another one, it was messy. And I was looking around and also looking at, you know, the boyfriend that I was dating, and it was volatile. I could see it going places that I didn't want it to go. You know, I knew where that was headed. And I was somehow or another, I was able to look at it and go, this is addictive. Like, this relationship, this thing, drugs, this is all some kind of addictive thing that is really bad for me. And I know that I don't know enough to get out of it. So the only way I knew to get out of it was to cut it completely out, like 100%. And I had this sort of stable idea that if I could do it for 2 weeks, I could keep going. It was like, okay, just get through it for 2 weeks. Just get through it for 2 weeks and distract yourself and go to the movies and do this and do that and read and whatever I had to do. Listen to music, just get through it. And then I, for some reason, thought after 2 weeks I could keep going, and I could. And then you asked me a second part of that question, and now I can't remember what it was.
No, I was just talking about, you know, you made that same application with respect to, like, removing negative people from your life.
Yeah, so it was as I started to do good for the first time in my life. You know, I was so used to people telling me, you know, you're no good, you're this, you're that, you'll never amount to anything. I had something to compare it to. In other words, when I got into acting, and I had two teachers or professors that took me under their wing and were like, they were going to take a chance on me, and they believed in me. And I never had that before. Hate to say that, but I really didn't. And so because these two teachers believed in me and took a chance on me, I had something to compare it to. So then when I had a friend go, oh, is that your, I remember I had this friend, I moved to LA, and I got Vegas vacation after 6 months living in LA. And I was like, really? And are you sure? And you don't want me? And okay. And I had a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and I remember, you know, talking to those professors. I still stay in touch with them. And they were like, we always knew you could do it, and we're so proud of you. And then my roommate at the time was like, oh, is that you on the billboard? Because I couldn't tell. It was like really small. I think that was you. Well, maybe next time you'll be bigger.
Oh.
Right? And I was like, I don't need friends like this. I got enough. I've had enough of this stuff in my life. I don't need to continue it, you know? So it was sort of little signs like that. Or looking around at friends that, you know, if I did have a movie or a TV show, they'd be like, oh, you think you're so big. And I was like, why can't you just be happy for me? Why do I have to feel like I have to apologize for working really hard and getting something? I shouldn't have to apologize for that. You know, I didn't come from money and I didn't come from a silver spoon, and I pumped gas and did dry cleaning and worked in, I don't know, 10 different gas stations to make ends meet and everything under the sun. You know, it's okay to feel good about accomplishing something. And so it was kind of like looking at that dichotomy between someone who was like, hey, we knew you could do it and really meant it, and other people that really just wanted to feel good about themselves if I could feel lesser than them.
Wow. Wow. That's, I mean, thank goodness for those two teachers that
God, yeah,
really
huh?
instilled, you know, some of that confidence in you. What was your relationship like with your parents growing up?
Well, it was hard, I'll put it to you that way. One is my mom was very, very depressed and sad all the time. And she would fluctuate between really sad and depressed and really angry and bitter. And for whatever reason, which I figured out later, at least I think I figured out, I was the target for that. I had 2 younger brothers and me. And I was the target for that. I never knew what I was gonna get when I came home. Like I would come home and find her in the bathtub with a glass of wine and Valium and be like, this is because you, this, that, the other. And I'd be like, okay. I wouldn't know. She tried to jump out of a car one time when I was in the back seat with my dad driving, telling me that it was my fault. But she was doing those things. It was really hard, and I never knew what it was that I did. And my dad's answer to try to deal with my mom was to just answer things with a belt. So he would just whip out the belt. To this day, that belt thing, I can't, it was too much. You know, I look at my kid and I'm like, who hits the kid that small with a friggin' leather belt, you know? And smaller, and for as long as I can remember. And so it was, I already had this instilled in me that I was a really bad person, because why else would they be doing this? I didn't really do it to my brothers, just me. I didn't know why. And then at the same time, there'd be this, I love you. And I'd be like, I don't know how to deal with that. Do you know what I mean? And as I got older, I remember when I was 16, I was getting kicked out of one school and going to another school. And I found my confidential files because my mom had left them on the kitchen table. And I opened them because I'm 16. It says confidential, do not open. I'm like, great, I'm going to open it. And I read them, and it said, my dad, Dr. Packnick was his name, is not Marisol's biological father. She does not know this. Her brothers are her half brothers. And I had no clue. At the time, it was a really big deal because I was like, they lied. Because I remember asking my mom, how come you got married 2 years after I was born? And she's like, oh, you know, me and your father just lived together. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was funny, but when I found that out, it kind of went click, 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 click. And everything kind of went into place of, oh, okay. So, and I found out she changed my birth certificate and hid me away from my dad. So I never knew. And so it kind of made a little bit of sense to me that, oh, I'm the reminder of this lie or whatever every single day. And they're hiding it from me every single day. So at least that explained to me why I was treated a bit differently than my siblings. I didn't understand. So it made sense in that way. And then I just had this viewpoint of like, well, if my mom is like this and she left that guy and said he was bad, how bad was he? So I didn't want to, I was like, I'm just not going to go there. I'm not going to chase it. I'm not going to, I don't care. And it's funny, as I don't want to make it all doom and gloom. As I got older, you know, I really did realize that my dad, my stepdad, who I call my dad, was, I don't want to excuse his solutions to problems. But I do get that he was doing the best he could. My mom is a handful and always has been. And I got the brunt of it and he would get the brunt of it. And so I kind of understood, for lack of a better reason, that with the tools that he had in life, you know, okay. But it got, our relationship was really bad. I remember my dad would tell me that he had someone following me and that he knew to hit me below the waist so that I couldn't call the police because any marks he would make below the waist were okay. And I didn't know. I had no idea. But my mom would be the one that would say, hit her, you know? So it was really, really strange. And I lost my dad last year. And it really hit me hard because he was, I hate to say it, but he was the sane one. You know, with my mom and all the things that she would do, and she'd flip on a lid, you know, I would go to my dad. We'd go to my dad. Okay, Dad, how can we handle this? Or Dad, we need you to do this. Or Dad, we need you to do that, because we couldn't get her to do anything. And so when he went, it was a big loss. It was a hard thing. And it really made me appreciate and kind of sympathize with what he went through as a parent. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
Is that a lot? Is that too much?
No. I mean, listen, it helps us. You know, I think part of being a really good actor or even a great actor is not just the ability to read lines, but also the ability to understand character. You can only understand character by really understanding the human element. And given with everything that you've gone through, like the realism of what you've gone through, how have you been able to take those aspects and then embed it into your work?
Sure. I think that it's funny because you sort of learn, or I sort of learned growing up, to have this one face, this one face, this one face, this one face. Here's how I am with all my friends, and we're doing this and that and the other. Here's how I am with my parents. Here's how I am at school. And I never actually knew who the real one was. So I was always pretty good at switching in and out of these things, depending on what was needed. I learned how to say the right thing to get me out of trouble real fast. I actually would pride myself on it. I would learn how to, like, okay, that person's mad or that person's this. What will they go into agreement with? Good, they'll go into agreement if I'm just as mad at them about something. As opposed to like, oh my God, why are you mad? Like, it wasn't, I learned how to sort of take on personalities that would keep me out of trouble, keep me from whatever that trouble was, sometimes not really, really safe stuff. And so I took that and I was like, I think that's why I was like, oh, I know how to do this. You know what I mean? So it's funny because Hermione Lodge was probably one of the hardest roles I've had to embrace, because I could do a cop and no problem. I can do a druggie, I can do an agent, I can do anything that has any kind of streetwise. I got that. The rich, kind of entitled, grew up with money, very ladylike and feminine, is totally different than the Chicago girl was. And thank God over the years I've been able to, like, okay, how do I do that? And what makes that person? How do they walk? How do they talk? How do they stand? you know, with Hermione was all about nails. She had like, my nails are shot right now, right? But Hermione had very long and beautiful nails. And it was always, and she did, you know, if she was drinking a glass, it was always, everything was about this. And it was just, that's just like little things that make those things tick, right? So I think I learned early on how to stay out of trouble and bring certain aspects of my personality out, just keep me out of it.
Yeah. What I detected is learning how to read a room, and that's Val, that's like your thing, right? Is just learning how to read a room and then making, you know, that application, adapting to it. Whew. Wow, Marisol, this is amazing.
I'm probably sharing more than I share with anyone, but you know.
I think it's really really important for people to really understand, you know, like how you got from point A to point B. And I think typically a lot of the times people just think like, oh, you know, the person went for an audition, they got the part, you know, they keep getting parts, you know, and they don't understand. And that's what I was making reference to earlier, like in the roles that you play, like for example, like in Nadia, you know, when you were on 24, I mean, just all the different ranges of emotions that you had, like at some point it's beyond reading the lines. Like you gotta be able to pull that from somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was always, growing up, I was always looking at how would I have been like had I grown up differently? Would I still be me, or would I be a different version of me if I had different things, right? And I was always studying people, and I was like, well, how come, you know, like there was a lot of white girls around me and stuff, so how come Jenny G, in my mind, you know, had this personality, and how come her dad would play t-ball with her, and how come her mom was like the PTA mom, and how come this? And I was always studying, well, I wonder what I would have been like in that environment, right? And so with Nadia, it was really interesting because she was never supposed to be Arabic or Pakistani. She was just, I think her name was Natalie Barnes or something when I auditioned.
Wow.
And after I got it, they called me up and said, would you mind if we make her Middle Eastern? And I was like, as long as I don't have to learn an accent in a week, I'm okay. And then I thought, okay, well, what would it have been like? Because this changes the character completely. If she grew up, and I knew a bit about the Middle East and a bit about how those cultures are and families are, and it's different, and being a woman in that, and how did she get, so I would just develop this whole backstory to where she came from and how she got to where she was, and that would help me sort of create what I would have been like had I grown up in that thing, to bring myself to the character and then add the character on top of that.
Wow. So what was it about your audition that the producer said, hey, we want to flip the script? You know, like what did you do in the audition that said, we wanted to take it from Jenny G to, you know?
I had auditioned for 24 because, you know, I was in season 6, so it'd been on 5 years already. And I had already auditioned like 3 different times for them. So when it was my manager at the time, he's like, you have an audition for 24. I'm like, well, I don't want to go. They never hire me. I'm like, I've gone in 3 times. I don't know why they keep calling me in. I didn't know. And then when I went in, I was the only one. And I was like, am I really late? Did everyone audition earlier today or something? Or what's the deal? And so I had nothing on it. I was like, all right, I'll audition. Here you go. Here's what I do every single time that you don't like, but all right, let's try. And I learned later, like, oh no, we always wanted you. We just needed you to read. And I was like, oh, well, that's great. I had no idea. So sometimes a lot of times it works out like that. I find that the roles that I'm like, I'm never going to get that. I don't really want that, or I have no idea if I want that. Those are the ones that I get. Like Vegas Vacation was, you know, this was Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. Like, they're never going to hire me. Little half Mexican kid from Chicago. No, like this is the whitest girl in America, is Audrey Griswold, like the Griswold family. Never going to happen. So every time they would call me in, I'd be like, all right, here you go. All right, why not? But I found that insouciance and attitude of like, take it or leave it, and okay, well, why not, has gotten me so much farther.
Yes.
Than, okay, I have to study hard and I have to do this and I have to do that. It's funny, but the less thinking and the more just pure, like, okay, creative, the better I always do. It's been my mantra. Yeah.
So how do you deal with, because, you know, there's a lot of times actors go on auditions and they're like, man, I didn't get like, this role is for me.
Kills me.
Right? Like, this was meant for me. And if I don't get it, my life is over.
Well, okay, so I've been in the business a while. I've learned, I used to bawl my head off and be like, my career's over, and oh my God, and I'm done. And then I think at one point I was like, God, I've been saying my career's over every time I don't get something for the last like 15 years. So maybe that's not true, you know? And I started going, oh, there's always another one around the corner. There's always another one I'm going to fall in love with. There's always going to be another chance. There's always going to be another this. And so I think just I was able to look at it and go, okay, relax. There'll be more. Don't worry about it. But first off, in the beginning, it was like devastating, you know, heartbreaking. And there's still the ones that hurt. There's always the ones that like hurts. But, you know, I always know that there's another one. There'll be another one.
Yeah. What's been your most difficult role to play?
You know, it's funny, but drama's really easy for me. I love drama, right? And in comedy, I'm the straight person, right? I can play the straight person, no problem. But having to be the funny person is really hard for me. And so there was this role that I really liked doing, but it was hard just because I'm not really good with comedy that strongly as I am with drama. And so it was a role on a TV show called GCB. And it was with Kristen Chenoweth and my friend Jen Aspin and Miriam Shore, and Miriam and Kristen and Jen are just comic geniuses. These girls are so friggin' funny. And I was playing, you know, girl from Dallas, and I had like a little accent and stuff like that. And it was like a little character, and it was fun. And I could do the accent, no problem. But when it came to, I was like, but I don't get it. Where's the funny? I don't get it. And we would do the like script read through, and Kristen or Miriam would be reading it, and they would take something on paper that I didn't think was funny and make it hilarious. And I was like, wow, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. So I think having to do that is harder for me than it is just playing the emotion of the scene or whatever. That is just natural. I just get that. That's why the straight person I can do. I'm like, okay, well, he's being ridiculous. I can react to that. But having to find the slapstick fall down humor isn't something that comes naturally to me.
Is that something that's a derivative of like how you grew up and just like your personal experiences?
Probably, yeah. Probably. I mean, even my voice is like low and like it's, I don't know. It's just like, I think it just comes from who I am.
Wow, Val, she is quite the impressive one, I tell you that much.
It's a nice masterclass of, especially for anybody coming up. You always think that your own journey and whatever you did in the past is going to hinder, you know, what you can do in the future. And, you know, a lot of what you were saying, your story, I have a little bit of that story too, but anybody looking at us now could never tell because we just left that. You can always go forward. There's always room to go forward, always. Yeah. And keep it moving. And it's a birds of a feather scenario. You know, all of that is roped into one. Absolutely. Yeah.
I always feel like you can start over anytime.
Anytime.
Okay, tomorrow's a new day.
That's right. That's right.
Have to.
What are some of the things that most people wouldn't know that you'd have to sacrifice to do what you do right now? Or what have been some of the biggest sacrifices you've had to make, you know, over the course of your career?
I would say, you know, I thought of a funny answer for this, which is sleep. because we have, oh my God, it's so tiring when you have to get up at 5 a.m. and 4 a.m, or sometimes you're going to bed at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and you're dead the next day, and you still have to be a mom, and you still have to function. You know, the world doesn't wait just because you're tired. And it's half joking about that because it's a lot. But I would say the stability, financial stability, is probably the most scariest thing to me, especially as a single mom. You know, you can make money and make a ton and then make none.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't know is they think, oh, you must make all this money. Do you have any idea how much they take out of that money?
Yes.
And that we have to pay to go live in the city to do the job, that they don't pay you to do that, that I get paid the same amount as if I would get to stay home in Los Angeles, but instead I have to take that and pay for all my flights to Vancouver and an apartment to live in Vancouver, and for my kid to be with me, and all of those things, and a car to get there to go to work. It seems like we got all this, nuh-uh, and it goes fast. It goes fast. So I think that's probably the biggest sacrifice is, gee, I chose a career that has ups and downs in it. And I would say, you know, my advice to anyone is save your freaking money. Save your money, you know, so that you don't freak out when one job goes away, you know, and you have to wait for that other one. I would say that's probably the biggest sacrifice.
Right. And as you're saving that money, what are you, I guess, sacrificing as far as like, what are you not spending your money on versus what are you investing in? You know, obviously beyond the, you know, the day-to-day having to take care of like your overhead, take care of your daughter and your bills and things like that. What are the things that you are doing away with, and the things that you're like, you know what, this is worthwhile investing in, you know, money?
So I put away 10% of my income right off the top. I'm like, I don't want to know about it. Don't show it to me. Put it away. Please, we'll spend it. I will spend it. And I didn't always do that, and I learned the hard way. I would get like, oh, I have so much money. Great. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go this. I'm going to go that. And then I remember as I got into like my mid-20s, late 20s, I was like, I need a place to live. Oh, I should probably get a place to live and know where I'm going to live for a while. And that's been the biggest thing, is like, you start to think with long term. Where am I going to live? Can I buy a house and pay it off yet? And if I can't, do I sell it? And can I sell it? And can I get money out of it? It starts to become about long-term survival, you know, little things like a roof over your head. And I find that if I don't put money away and I put things into a pension account, because you can not have to pay taxes on that, don't touch it till you're 65, that kind of stuff, it forces me to save money and only go, this is all the money I have, so figure it out, kid. You know, figure it out. Otherwise, I'll spend it. It's too easy to. It's way too easy to, you know. It's funny, but we're in the middle of a strange time right now, and I can't tell you how I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't buy those stupid Gucci shoes. I don't need Gucci shoes. Stop. You know, it's way easier to spend money than it is to save it, and it's a kind of thing that I have to trick myself to. Yeah.
What are the things as an actor, what are the things that are absolute that you have to invest in when it comes to your career?
Yeah, you have to invest in a really good publicist, because you're publicizing those things and your name out there and doing correct things where people are reaching for your product. That's all you have. So I wish I'd learned this earlier on, to find a really great publicist. So now it's like, okay, this is something I have to do. So every time I get a job, I'm like, great. So I have to pay a publicist that's put this much money away for the next 6 months, and that's going to pay the publicist. Good. If you're, if it depends on if you have a manager, agent. I only have a manager because I've had both, and I'm like, well, the manager's there to make sure the agent does their job, and the agent's supposed to be doing their job. So why am I paying both of you? That doesn't make sense to me, right? So who's doing the job? Okay, you're doing the job. Great. I'm not using you. I'm using you.
Well, so on that note, what is the actual role of the agent, the manager, the publicist, and then how do you determine whether or not they actually are doing their job for you specifically?
Yep. So the agent is the one who's supposed to go out and get you jobs. Is supposed to find projects for you to do, and depending on what level you're at, get you auditions, get you in the door. And then when you get the job, they're supposed to negotiate the contract.
And how much of your money do they actually get?
They get 10%.
Okay.
And for more, walk away. But they get 10% off the top, by the way.
Wow.
They get 10% off the top. Then, manager. What does a manager do that's different than an agent? Nothing. Really nothing. A manager has different relationships and can get you in the door and can get you jobs. I would say the only added thing they can do, but agents can do that now, is produce. But now, like help you produce a show or creatively help put together something. But agencies do that as well now. So there's really no difference. Then you've got the lawyer. The lawyer is supposed to negotiate the contract and get you as much money as possible. But that's the agent's job. And the manager can do that. So I've learned the hard way to pay, when I would pay 10% to the agent, 10% to the manager, and 5% to the lawyer off the top of all income. And then 50% to the government, and I walk with 40% of my paycheck. So it's like, or not 40, like 35% I get to keep for myself. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
On that 35%, you're then responsible for all the other costs that are associated to you. So that means from that 35%, you've got to pay a publicist. From that 35%, even if you're working in Vancouver or Toronto, you got to pay for your own flights, housing,
lodging.
Yep. So it's not, I had to figure out how to do this smarter. I was like, okay, who's actually doing the work? So I would look and go, who's doing the work? Who's taking credit for the work? And who's actually doing the work? What are the actual products that they've gotten? So when I would look at my lawyer, I'd be like, okay, he's taking 5%, but he hasn't done anything besides write up the contract that took him 3 hours the first day that I got the series. Why should he get 5% of the series for the rest of the time that I do it for the next, that could be 5 years. That could be 7 years. When all he did was negotiate a contract. Hasn't got me a raise.
Wow.
Hasn't worked out anything else. So you got to go. The agent, well, okay, who got me that job? And I would look at it. Who got me the audition? Or who got me the role? Who presented it? Who actually did it? And you have to find out, because people will take credit and make you think that they did it when they actually didn't, and you can get rid of the wrong person. You got to make sure you're doing the right. You have to make sure that you're looking at who actually got you the product or helped you get the product. Not who's taking credit for it, but who actually did it. And so then in looking all of that, I was like, okay, fine. I got my manager. One person.
That's a lot of money being taken out of your check.
And look, I'm happy to pay an agent or happy to pay a lawyer if it's making me a significant amount more to justify giving away 15% more of my income.
Right.
But if there's no benefit, why would I do that? There's no benefit.
Yeah.
So it has to be a good investment. Yeah.
And do you feel that do you feel like having the right agent or having the right manager will help you secure those jobs that you're looking for?
Yeah, I do. I think it makes a giant difference. Now, my manager will always say, like, I just get you in the door. Or this is you who got it. You're the one through your body of work or whatever. But it really does have a lot to do with how hardworking is that person. Mm-hmm. Because I don't have access to every single project that's coming down the line. Mm-hmm. I don't know that there's some, sci-fi movie that's looking for a Latina, ship captain or something that is going to start filming in 3 months, and they don't want to go to casting directors yet because they're still putting together the stars. And then my manager reads that and go, let's get you in before anyone else. Mm. And hey, I got you this offer or whatever. They want you for it. It's because he can sell you. Mm-hmm. Or the agent can sell you, but you got to sell me. So there's a lot of lazy managers and lazy agents that will happily sit back and take 10% of your money for just making a phone call and going, hey, yeah, so do you want to audition Marisol? Okay, so Marisol, you have an audition at 2, and they do nothing. And you go in there and you work your butt off to get it. And then they give you the job because you earned it. And then that agent takes 10% of the money for the life of the entire thing. Wow. It's like, if I'm going to give you 10%, then you got to work. You got to work and continue to work. Otherwise, why am I giving you that? Because you made a phone call and got me in the door? No. Yeah. So you really want to have that person in your corner. You really want to have someone that's working for you constantly and not afraid. You'll get people that will say that they're in your corner and that they're fighting for you or they're there to help you, but really they don't want to make that phone call to Warner Brothers because they really want Warner Brothers to like them, and they really don't want to, make them upset that their actress is saying she needs just a little bit more money to feed her kid, and it's because they have another client that they want to get on the show. So they'll tell you, oh, I don't think that's really going to happen. I don't think I'll make a phone call. And then they make the phone call, and the phone call is really about, hey, listen, I have this other guy who's, 35 years old, and he'd be great for a role on the same show. So what do you think? And then they'll come back and tell you, yeah, it's not going to happen. You got to, you know what I mean? Because you're not on those calls. So it's just sort of like trusting your people that you have around. If you don't trust them, then know that, pull the string, find out. I had this one period of time where I went to, when you're about to get a series, they call it going to network, right? And they've auditioned, hundreds and hundreds of people, and they've narrowed it down to usually 3 or 4 people. And then they have their favorite, and then they present those 4 people to the network, and the network decides, yes, we want your favorite. No, we want this other person, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I went to network 5 times on 5 different shows. 3 of those times I was the only person that they were bringing to network. And it'd be like, oh, you're the one. She's got the role. We love this. I would go to network, and my manager would get on the phone after I would go, and something happened 5 times in a row where all of a sudden they changed their mind. And I was like, why? What are they saying to them? Is he asking for a ton of money? Is he saying that I want a ton of money and that so that he can get a bigger 10%? What is happening on that phone call? Because it's happened 5 times in a row, and it never happened before, ever. Mm-hmm. So what's happening? And I remember after 4 years, I was like, that's it. You got to go. I don't know what's happening on that phone call, but something's happening where every single time I'm told, you have the role, we'll see you Monday. And then over the weekend, they change their mind. I'm like, what are you saying to that? So you know, that's one of the things I got with Riverdale is I got rid of my whole team. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to work.
So at what point do you actually make that decision to get rid of your whole team? Is it when things aren't working for a specific, you know, amount of time that you set aside? Is it, hey, I haven't worked in like, you know, 9-10 months. You
Right.
know, is it the team? Is it you? Is it what is it?
Right.
What helps you get to that, you know, to
When
that
I'm looking at the products. So if I'm getting to network 5 times
Yeah.
for 5 different shows, it ain't me. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I'm
And it's
doing
hard
my
to get
job.
to network.
I'm
It's
doing
hard.
my part.
Yes.
So what's happening? So I'm a really big believer, and you have to actually look at the product. What is the actual product that they're getting you, right? So it wouldn't be just 9 or 10 months, because to me that could be a fluke. There could be this. I absolutely looked at me. Are you kidding? I think what's wrong with me? I can't did I lose it? What's going on? Until I was like, wait, if I've done this 5 times, I'm obviously doing something right.
Yes.
And I got tired of hearing, it'll be the next one. It'll be the next. I'm like, well, it's been 5 times, guys. What's happening? I don't understand. And then what would also happen, and you'll like this. Okay. So there's this great definition of invalidation, which says invalidation is basically non-attention. Non-attention is kind of validating. So I would call my manager at the time, and I'd be like, listen, I want to meet, or I want to do this, I want to do that. 2-3 weeks would come back, and he'd finally be like, oh yeah, hey, you were on my call sheet. Oh. And I mean, this would happen a lot. And what I found myself doing was like, I guess I'm not that important because I'm not working. Or I guess, you know, I probably don't deserve a phone call back right away because he's got other clients that are working. And finally I was like, what is this? Why am I going this way? No, not after 5 shows and this and that. And, you know, how many series have I done? Come on. No. So that's when I took a look and was like, okay, I've been with this person. I think at the time it was like 8 years. I had done 3 series and then nothing for this 5 thing. And I think it was almost a 2.5-year period.
Ooh.
And I was like, no, I'm sorry, but I can't afford the loyalty. I need to work.
Right.
And it's funny because the second I switched up the team, it was right before pilot season, which is like the busiest time of the year for actors. And I was like, I cannot go through another pilot season again with agents that are in apathy and a really lazy manager that doesn't care. I can't do that. So I remember calling my now manager because he had been chasing me when I, like maybe 5-6 years before this. And he would, every year he'd be like, you ready to come with me yet? Ready to come with me yet? And at the time,
lovely.
I was great. But at the time I was working. And so it was the wrong time to change things up. I'm not going to change what's working. Right? You don't change when things are good. You change when things are bad. Or you change things for the better without stopping what helped the thing happen in the first place, is my viewpoint. So at the time I couldn't. So when I was looking at this, I was like, I can't go through another pilot season with this team. And I remember texting him. I was like, I don't even know if this is still your number. It was 7 a.m. because I couldn't sleep that night. And I was like, I'm just, David, are you, this is Marisol. Are you still interested? And he was like, he called me. He's like, absolutely, I'll meet you anytime, anywhere. And I was like, okay, good. That's the enthusiasm I wanted. And then I looked, what are his products? Who are his clients?
Yeah.
Have they been working?
Yeah.
What has he done? Because I don't want to go with someone who's got a bunch of clients that aren't working.
Right.
I'm trying to get work. What are the products? So after looking at all that and everything and his enthusiasm and going, look at what he's built in the last 5 years that I've talked to him. I was like, okay, good. And so I cleaned house. And that was it. And I went with him and literally, I think it was 6 auditions. I had Riverdale straight off.
Outstanding.
Good. So I was like, okay, right decision.
Yeah.
Amazing. It seems like that's a pattern in your life. When things aren't looking good, when things aren't going the right way, you literally will look around.
Absolutely.
And then you make a decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love that about you.
I'm working so hard to make things go right. And I have to be honest, I better be working hard. But if I'm working so hard to make things go right, who's on the other end working so hard the other way? You know?
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. Now, you've done a lot of acting. Any producing, directing that you want to do?
Yeah. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 projects.
Oh.
Yeah, that are really, really good. 2 of them I sold to Greg Berlanti when I was the first season of Riverdale. I pitched Sarah Schechter and the other person there, and they both loved them and they took them. And then they found writers for them and all that. And then the only problem was one of the writers got his other show picked up, so we had to put mine on hold. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I have it back. I have a film that I'm obsessed with that me and my manager are putting together. I'm dying to get it out there. It's really, really good, based on all true life stories. Very big women-driven, badass movement that's based on real life, which is really, really cool. And then 2 TV shows that are scripted, and then 1 that's a docuseries on trafficking.
You obviously are a huge, activist in the realm of human trafficking.
Yeah.
You've got an organization that you've got set up. We had an opportunity to work with you, which was amazing in that. Why did you get into that, number 1?
I got into it because I started hearing stories about girls disappearing. And literally, it's funny, it started and I didn't even realize what was happening, but when I was 16, maybe 15, 16, my mom's family was all down in Texas, the border of Texas and Mexico, Laredo. And so we would go down there every single Christmas, and then all of a sudden we couldn't go anymore. And everyone was moving out. And what was happening is literally girls were disappearing. Oh, it was like all over the news. It was in Laredo, Texas, and it was like, to the I think it was like 30, 40 girls had gone just missing. And I was like, what's happening? Where are they? And where are they being taken? So that stuck with me. And then as I got older and got on the other side of all my drama, I started looking around and hearing more stories of, you hear whisperings. You hear whisperings of sex tourism. And I'm like, what is sex tourism? Wow. And brothels. And I'm like, what do you mean brothels? And then what do you mean kids? And I started like, wait, what? And it's funny because it almost personally affected me, because I think maybe I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, but I ran away a bunch of times, right? As a young teenager and stuff like that. And the amount of things that I did, even into my 20s, I should be dead. I was an idiot. The amount of times that I just, go up to a stranger. Hey, you want to get high? You got anything? You got this? You got that? Even at 12 years old, 13 years old. Freaking stupid, right? So when I started hearing the stories about girls and how they were forced into this life, I was like, that's no different than, that could have happened to me. Easily, that could have happened to me. Wrong place, the wrong time. That was all these girls were guilty of. Believing an adult who was lying to their face and they didn't know it. Right. And it broke my heart when I heard about it. And I didn't understand why. I couldn't comprehend it. The degree of evil, the degree of one human being selling another human being's body 20 times a day, and they get the money for it, and they're held against their will, sometimes handcuffed to the bed, while these men come in and pay for that while they're handcuffed. I just could not understand how this is allowed to go on, and make no mistake about it, it's allowed to go on, you know? And so as I dug into it, and I would go to DC, and I met with the Obama administration, I met with the executive branch of the White House, I met with Homeland Security, the DEA, ICE, all of them, State Department, and then different organizations that were doing stuff in this. And the more I learned and the more I discovered, it was like, oh, I get it. These are white men in power that are doing this. And the girls that would be rescued, they'd be like, yeah, he was a father with a baby seat in the back. Or you'd hear about things briefly in the news, and then I'd watch them get buried, but they'd come up briefly of a girl escaping and then naming this politician, that politician, this person, that person. It's funny because all of this was before the whole Believe Survivors movement came out. You know, I'm like, you want to talk about survivors? Let's talk about those people. Like, not to diminish anything, but, you know, being held against your will and raped all day, that's a survivor and still living. And so I just couldn't sleep. And I didn't feel like if I was able to somehow, like if I was a kid nowadays and did the things that I did when I was a kid, I'd be gone. I would be gone. No doubt about it. And I had a hard time thinking I was able to escape this just because of the time period that I grew up in, and some other kid can't and didn't. So I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to do something about it. So that was it.
Wow. I mean, do you feel also, I mean, beyond the fact that, you know, you're helping these individuals, do you feel even more motivated to save them because no one was really there to save you, so to speak, when you were going through your...
Yeah, and I don't even, I mean, maybe that's the reason behind it, you know? Because I remember thinking, well, no one cares. And I remember the amount of stories that I've heard of girls that are like, I didn't think anyone cared. I'm like, I know that feeling. I know that feeling to a lesser degree than they do. Like the amount of, I remember this one girl who was 15 years old, chained to a bed, and it was something like 500 men over a period of months. And every single one, she would say, I'm 15 years old, I'm being held against my will. And every single person was like, well, I paid for my time and blah, 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 blah. And one guy went, okay, and called the police.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Wow.
it, you know, heartbreaking, but also, thank you, dude. You know what I mean? It just takes, like, we have to look out for each other no matter what it is. We're all we have. Mankind. We're it. We can't go around doing horrific things to other people and have that be all right. We have to get together. We got enough stuff going on. Pollution and this and that and toxic and drugs and all that. Like, we can't be doing this, especially to girls. Whatever happened to, you know, you take care of women. This is someone's future mama. You know? This is someone's sister. This is our next generation that's going to raise the next population that's going to rule this place. We got to take care of that. So I don't know. I think I went off on a tangent. But if I can, I like letting people know that there's others out there that care about them and are willing to do and put and help them, and that they're worth so much more than what they're being told on a daily basis. You know?
And I think also the trafficking problem is more insidious and closer to our own neighborhoods than we even understand.
100%.
More insidious than we know. It's closer than we know. So you're kind of shining a light on, I always thought about, oh, those poor people wherever, you know, down at the border, or no, it's in our backyard in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the inner city, it's everywhere. So I think your program helps all of us understand that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. And what I hope is that also through people understanding that it's everywhere, it's funny because then all of a sudden they know what to look for. Because we talk about, I'll bring law enforcement to these events, or you know, and then they're like, I just called in a thing because I saw it right there. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Right.
In a hotel room that looks a little bit suspicious, and why is a do not disturb sign on there for 4 days straight? People keep coming in and out. Call. You know what I mean?
Or even they're saying at the airport, you're walking through the airport and you're seeing, you know, young adults that kind of just don't look right, being drug along, or, you know, so many places right under our nose.
Right under our nose.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I think it's so amazing and impressive. You know, we went through like what it really takes to be an actor, the amount of money that you have to invest in your own career, and then when you're left with whatever you're left with, to take care of yourself, to take care of your child. And then now here you are using that little bit that you are left with, not only money, but also time and resources, now to help like people that you don't even know, you know? And it's, you know, it's one thing to be like, hey, I donate to this thing or that thing or whatever, but to really be involved as you have been, it speaks volumes of you, you know, and it's just, I'm a little bit speechless, even though we've worked with you before, you know, and we understand the impact that it has on our society. But just to even hear you speak about it and to see how passionate you are, you know, what would you encourage other actors, you know, as they're coming along, as they are building on their platform, as they start getting, you know, some sort of visibility and things like that? What would you encourage them to do?
I would say that, you know, as you get visibility and stuff like that, you have a responsibility. People look up to you.
Yeah.
So whatever you post on your Instagram, there's some teenager going through whatever that's looking for an answer to anything. And if you say to get on there and do drugs, they will go out there and do drugs. Yeah. They'll go, oh, that's the way to be. Okay, thank you, because I'm really confused and I have no role model and I don't know what to do. So thank you. I'm going to be just like you. Yep. You have a responsibility. You have to, you know? And so the one thing that gets me is, you know, find something that you really care about and learn about it. Don't just go by what the brochure says. Don't just go by what the brochure says. Find out everything you can about that. If your thing is water and your thing are villages in Africa where they don't have water, good, find out why. Mm-hmm. Pull the string. Why don't they have water? Wait a minute. I don't understand, you know. 3 years ago, there was, you know, $10 million donated to this company that was supposed to build water wells. Where are the water wells? I don't want to go out there and go, we need more water if the money's going to this company and they're not bringing the water. Because then you're part of the problem. Do you have to do the research? Dig. Don't just go and be lazy and take the brochure. You know? Different sources, not just one source, not the source. This is what we do. We bring, you know, clothing to underage families and this. Okay, well, do you? Do you? Oh, you're getting all the money, but this other company is actually taking survivors that are making clothes, and then that clothes goes to the people, and the people that are buying it goes directly to the survivors. Great. I want people to have clothing too, but that's the way I want them to do it. So you just have to like be willing to dig. Don't buy the brochure. There's a lot of brochures and they know exactly what they're doing to attach a celebrity to it.
Right.
And the celebrity doesn't even know what they're doing, but because they're saying that, all these people will now get behind them. And they have no idea they're promoting the actual enemy.
Wow.
There's a lot of fake things that pretend to stand for one thing and they don't. And you know it when you do the work. What's the actual product? You know, like I remember going to Haiti for the first time. And I remember the earthquake. Everyone remembers the Haiti earthquake. Remember how much money went into Haiti? All these people donating millions and millions and millions. And I go to Haiti and I'm like, where did it go? I don't know where it went because it ain't here. Haiti's a hellhole. It's rough. Shacks and this and that. It's chaos. It's heartbreaking. It's poverty beyond poverty. I don't understand. Where'd the money go? I haven't dug on that, but I can just tell by observation it didn't go here. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's groups that are in the trafficking world that are front groups to legalize trafficking. And they go in on this sex workers' rights. And they go in on this, you know, oh, the poor mom who's making ends meet to raise her kid. And so therefore she has to go on Backpage.com and sell her body. And if we shut down Backpage.com, this poor woman won't be able to feed her baby. Sounds totally legit, right? Good. So is that really oh, I see this woman has worked for this organization, this organization, this organization, this organization, and she gets paid every time she speaks. That's how she's making her money. She's not actually the poor mom with the kid. And what's the product if we keep a website open? Oh, that's the #1 website where kids are sold for sex in the United States. Kids are being raped on the website. But it looks like this group is all for, you know, protecting children's rights. No, you're for literally keeping that website up. That's what you're fighting. And that's where kids are being raped every single day. You want to sell your body, go ahead, you're an adult. But that's an 11-year-old. So no. So you have to like, and I've sort of learned this through meeting with all these different organizations and going, what's the product? And I'm like, wait a minute, what? You want to do what? You want to legalize trafficking, call men sex facilitators, and make it all legal? I'm sorry, last time I checked, I didn't need no man to organize my right to go sleep with whoever I wanted. Why do I need a facilitator? What do you mean? Like, wait a minute, what? And then you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, they're being funded by this organization and da-da-da-da. You just have to dig.
That's a great tip across the board for everything, really.
Yeah,
because so much scamming going on across the board.
Yep.
And we're all kind of gullible because we're sort of lazy. That's an amazing tip just across the board. Finding your manager, you said it, you know, but also for any kind of charity or give back, you got to do the research. Wow.
Yeah, with anything. And make sure the research is from different sources and not the same source.
Right.
Channels.
Right.
Just, what is it? Is it legit or not?
Research. Wow. Yeah. Good information. So for actors, actors that are looking for a solid roadmap for some measure of success, give me three things that you feel that actors need to do. 3 things.
Don't think too much. You'll screw it up. Don't think too much. And I'll elaborate a little bit on that. when you first read the script, you first get an idea, or the first read the sides, you first get an idea of what that should be about. Go with your instincts. Nurture that. Don't get into, well, what's my this and what's my that and how do I, because it kills all the creativity, you know? So don't think too much. Have fun. Don't forget to have fun. That's why you started it in the first place. Secondly, know that there's always something around the corner. There could be 400 no's. It takes one yes to change everything. Truly. So do not give up. Someone will say yes. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I would say the third thing, it kind of goes with the first one, and don't think too much, but it's also like, I find for me, if I'm trying to do a role, I look at things that are like that and I imitate it until I have a character who holds herself differently, or holds, or is like this, or depending on the character. And then all of the choices and all of the emotions and everything else comes from that, because I've already got the beingness of the character, if that makes sense. So then you've already got how they're going to talk, how they're going to walk, how they're going to hold themselves, what kind of person are they? Then as you read the lines, as the character, the choices come. And then you preserve that little spirit of play, That's my 3, I guess.
You got some words of wisdom. I like that.
Thanks.
You got that.
The master class. This was a nice master class.
Everybody's got their things that work. This is what works for me,
Nah, that is fantastic. Fantastic. Well, listen, before we go, we're going to try to keep things on a lighter note. We've got this thing called the Quick 5, okay? And basically what that is that Val's going to ask you 5 questions, whatever comes to your mind. The very first thing that comes to your mind, just spit it out. Don't think about it, like you said, all right? And let's see what we get. So Val, take it away.
Okay, I'm ready. These are kind of fun too. So your favorite travel spot?
My what?
Favorite travel destination?
Oh, Italy.
Oh, Italy. I agree with that. Yes. Your first concert?
It was Michael Jackson.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was like 9 or 10. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Least favorite food?
I like food. That's hard. Chickpeas. I hate chickpeas. There you go.
No hummus for you. Gym or hiking?
Gym. City girl.
And the last one, if you were stuck on an island and could take only one thing, what would it be?
My kid.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. Kind of obvious, yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Marisol, we just want to say thank you so much for spending this time with us. Just being able to get to know you, being able to understand, what you've gone through, and the roadmap for success, and also just how to be so giving like you have been, has been not only informative, but very inspiring. And we hope that our audience and our listeners today definitely feel that way. Before we let you go, how do we keep up with you on social?
Oh, it's really easy. It's just my name, Marisol Nichols. On Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Marisol Nichols.
Perfect. Thanks again for being here with us. And we hope to speak to you very, very soon.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Marisol.
Yeah.
All right, Marisol. We'll talk later. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Regard Breakdown. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcasts. We're available on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn Plus Alexa, Deezer, and much more. And if you'd like to see video content from our podcast, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Regard Breakdown. And for all other social platforms, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook with the handle @Regard Breakdown. Until then, we'll see you next time.